main deck is pretty straightforward. He has 4 Searing Spears as his only spells. Everything else is basically either humans or boars. You know, the standard 12 1-drops that we've been seeing a lot from Naya humans. He's got 2 Kessick Malcontents, which can kind of act as pseudo-burn spells. If he has 2 or 3 humans in play, he can do 4 to the face. And, you know, after board, he has a couple of copies of Fiend Hunter that can come in. But beyond that, you know, it's pretty much straightforward. It's going to be, you know, ground and pound magic for 3 games, hopefully.
Absolutely. Now, we have the rest of the top 8 is already starting to get their matches underway. John Milner and David here about to start game 1. And one of the things, even though it looks like John Milner might have both the game 1 advantage, both based on being the number 4 seed versus the number 5 seed, and also perhaps being a little bit better on the curve, obviously, you don't just compare deck lists and choose a winner.
No, I think I would give a slight edge to John simply because he's on the play and his mana is a little bit better because he's all humans. He has those Cavernous Souls. But again, this is one of those, you know, beatdown matchups can come down to just who draws slightly better. So I think it's going to be, a close match, unless John's able to just like explode creatures on the board. So it looks like both players are determining whether or not they want to keep their opening 7. Looks like John is deciding to keep. Looks like David deciding whether or not he wants to mulligan. So it looks like both players are going to keep. And we have just a turn-win Sacred Foundry for John. So David a little fortunate here not having to contend with a champion of Parish or Experiment 1. And David actually being the aggressor steals serve, so to speak, by playing an Arbor Elf on turn 1.
John Milner on the left, David Raczka on the right. See second mana here from John Milner. Sun Petal Grove. Turn 2, looks like we've got Frogmite from Standard. That is the Burning Tree Emissary. Burning Tree Emissary, Lightning Mauler, they're best friends, here they come, and the Arbor Elf quickly jumps in the way of the Lightning Mauler.
And yeah, you kind of expected that to come. If the Naya Blitz deck keeps their opening 7 and they don't have a 1-drop, you have to imagine they at least have a Burning Tree Emissary. So we have double Experiment 1 from David's side, and it looks like John has another Lightning Maul in his hand, along with a Boros Elite. So could be threatening to do a lot of damage. Again, it looks like the Lightning Mauler might get chump block this turn, though. And he also has a Rampager, too, so he's threatening a lot of damage on turn 4.
This is pretty crazy here. We see the Boros Elite. Are they going to be best friends forever? Best friends forever. In they come. A grand total of 2, 4, 6, 9 damage being thrust towards David. I mean, we might just see a...
This is going to be tough. Does David want to just lose one of his Experiment 1s? Obviously, he can probably grow both next turn, but again, can you really afford to take 9? I don't think so.
One Experiment 1 runs headlong into the Lightning Mauler's face, and back to David Raczka.
So he takes 7, and he gets drops to 9. And John, he does have that Gorkman Rampager, and we said, you know, that card's one of the most powerful spells that you can have. It sort of gives the deck reach.
Yeah.
And allows you to power through creatures and trample over. So let's see if David can mount the defense here.
Looking at David's list, remember, both of these players also were able to look at each other's list. There are no surprises for either of these players. They've had the opportunity to look over what could possibly come out of it, and John knows that there is no card like Bonfire of the Damned in David's deck, so he can just put everything on the table if he wants.
Yeah, he has a lot of information. Unfortunately, John doesn't have a lot more action beyond that Gorkman Rampager, so he's going to be in a position where, let's see, is this enough here? 4, 7, it won't be enough to trample over. He can trample over the Dredge Mangler, though, and so he'll be able to do 6 damage this turn, dropping David to 3, and wiping out David's side of the board and leaving him with 2 creatures. Unfortunately, he doesn't have Battalion, he doesn't have a follow-up, so the Boros Elite will be pretty tiny next turn. Let's see if David can, we know he has an Aristocrat in his hand. It looks like he has a Stomping Ground, which is, doesn't want to risk putting that into play untapped. So pretty good follow-up here. 2 big blockers that can block and kill both of John's creatures. John does draw a Boros Elite, so he'll have Battalion next turn, but unfortunately this turn he's going to have to pass back to David. He doesn't have a good attack right now.
1 card in David's hand, I believe. And we see 2 creatures here which could threaten to kill David. Now,
So David does have an aristocrat in his hand. We know. I think he has an aristocrat. I'm not sure what his other card is, but do you want to? How aggressive do you want to try to be here? You're facing down 2 Boros Elites, which are going to be 3/3s. I think if the Falcon Wrath aristocrat comes down right here, you're not in bad shape. You still have 3 creatures, and you can pretty much trade with all of John's creatures and keep one of your guys, at least one of your guys, in play. So. The problem is John can still top deck a Searing Spear to end this game real quickly, along with the second Gorkland Rampager in his deck. Looks like we have a Kessick Malcontents. That was one of those cards that we were talking about. Gives him a little more reach. To the dome.
Now, John Milner here, winner of Game 1, but we also are going to have a winner every single round that we do these top 8s. If you don't know how the Star City Games Premium giveaway works, I'm going to give you a pretty quick explanation. Every round, we give away a prize of the Star City Games Premium side. During our quarterfinals, both today and tomorrow, we are going to be giving away 3 free months of Star City Games Premium. In the semifinals, we're going to give away 6 free months, and in the finals, that is going to be 1 free year of Star City Games Premium. Now, I don't know about you, but I try to read as much Magic writing as I can get my hands on.
Along with the videos.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, one of the things, if you think that, you know, knowing is half the battle, well then you should be getting Star City Games Premium. You can get it for free. What you have to do is answer a trivia question that we ask, answer it correctly by tweeting with the hashtag SCG Premium, and one person who gets the answer correct will be selected from amongst those who do to receive the prize.
Yep.
So now, here is going to be the Star City Games Premium giveaway question. And this is not actually about the specifics of today. This is about a little bit of history, because we've got a rock deck here. A rock deck in our top 8. The second seed, undefeated as far as I can tell, from the Swiss until he drew in. Mm-hmm. And who is credited as being the creator of the rock? What deck builder is credited as being the creator of the rock? Now, if you are kind of a new school player, you can Google this one. Now,
can you Google this? You can't Google this, can you? The creator of the rock?
Creator of the rock. I'll give you some help.
Isn't it just going to have the rock's parents?
I think if you put the words magic in there, it might help you out.
Yeah, put in magic. You don't want to put creator of the rock. It's going to be too vague.
Yes, it's true. You might get God. You might get, I don't know, some wrestling sites.
WWE.
There you go.
Vince McMahon.
Tweet your answer, hashtag SCG Premium, and if you are amongst those who have answered correctly, one of you will be selected for 3 free months of Star City Games Premium. Now let's go back to our match in progress. David versus John. We got some sideboard cards here. If I'm David, I don't know about you, I actually really like bringing in all of these cheap things, even the Dryad Militants, just as a 2/1 body to put down on turn 1.
I think that's reasonable. You definitely bring in the Abrupt Decay and the Pillar Flame. I like bringing in those cheap guys just because you can go over the top with Aristocrat and Thundermail Hellkite, so that's not an unreasonable plan. But the question is, what do you want to bring out?
I don't think that Gorkland Rampager in the John Daggro list is actually, I mean, you're happy to drop it on turn 4, but you got to live that long first.
Yeah. Dread Mangler might be a little overcosted for this matchup. I don't know if I can afford to bring in Dryad Militant, though. I think Abrupt Decay and Pillar Flame, warding out Dread Mangler and Rampager, that's fine. But beyond that, I want my Gyro Sages, I want my Strangergeist, I want the Flinthoof Boar. Experiment 1 maybe isn't that great in this matchup, but if you're on the play, it's pretty good. So yeah. I think I don't think you can afford to bring in the Dryad Militants. Even though, again, like you said, sometimes it is good just to trade. I think that you just can't afford it.
On the other side of the table, I definitely like Frontline Medic, since you're going to be planning on crashing in, and you just want to have all of your creatures battalioning-y being indestructible. But what do you think about the rest of it?
Yeah, I think Thalia can probably... I think Thalia is actually relatively decent sometimes, just because that first strike can be important. But again, it might be the weakest card, so probably Fiend Hunter and Frontline Medic are the 4 cards that I want to bring in, and maybe cut out the Kessick Malcontents and some number of Thalias. I know Rampager isn't amazing, but still, that trample effect is one of the few ways that John has to pound through some of the bigger creatures on David's side of the board. So I kind of think I still want that in my deck.
Yeah, I definitely like that as well. It's a very different thing when you're the aggressor and you've got a Gore-Clan Rampager versus when you're the defender and you've got a Gore-Clan Rampager. Entirely different effects that you get out of that.
Yeah, I think a Mayor of Averback, you think a 1/1 isn't that huge, but the fact that it can pump up your Fiend Hunter, and it's really good with cards like Frontline Medic, I think you kind of want that in your deck too. So I'd probably shave some number of the Thalias, maybe go down to 1 Thalia and cut my 2 Malcontents to bring in the 2 Fiend Hunters and 2 more Frontline Medics.
There we go. There was possible sideboarding choices from Osip there. And John Milner, we'll see what he decides to do. David Raczka, looking at that sideboard, I feel like he recognizes that he needs to have a lot of removal. Obviously, he's got those 7, and it's partly because against Naya Humans, which is clearly one of those decks that you expect to see if you're in a large standard tournament, I wonder if that's enough for him to be able to take back some of the real pressure that Naya Humans can put down.
It's especially on the play, I think he's got a reasonable shot. Again, a lot of the creatures that he has are pretty reasonably sized. Strangleroot Geist is obviously a very big card in this matchup. Kind of acts like a Voice of Resurgence in terms of giving you 2 blockers, 2 bodies more or less. And he has removal. He has a lot more removal than John has. So if David has a chance in this matchup, it's definitely in games 2 and 3. So being on the play this game, I think favors him a little bit. And hopefully his removal, if he wins this game, his removal cards like Pillar of Flame and Abrupt Decay can slow down the kind of explosive draw that John was able to get in game 1.
This is the top 8 quarterfinal match, our first match of this top 8. John Milner on the left, David Raczka on the right, and an aggressive versus aggressive deck. And we talked earlier about the article, the classic article by Mike Flores, Who's the Beatdown? And in this matchup, John Milner is clearly, in most games before they start, we would expect him to be the beatdown. Now, David Raczka here, one of the crazy things about aggressive decks versus aggressive decks, there's only one beatdown in any particular matchup. And David definitely looks like he's got a huge control sideboard to try to claim that role properly if he has to be that role.
Yeah, if he had Burning Tree Emissary in his list, I would say that maybe there's a chance he can become more aggressive. He does have Experiment 1, but this really is only aggressive 1-drop. Arbor Elf really is an aggressive 1-drop. He can ramp to a card like turn 2 Flinthoof Boar, activate and give it haste, but beyond that, his deck isn't nearly as aggressive as John's list. So yeah. I don't think he can really be the aggressor in this matchup. He kind of has to try to be a little more controlling, use those Abrupt Decays and Pillar of Flames to kind of slow the game down enough where either Thundermore or Falcon Wrath can kind of take control.
Now, one of the things, one of the things that is really interesting about a matchup like this is if you're David, you've got some possible haste plays that might happen on turn 2, whether it's Arbor Elf into Flinthoof Boar for a hasty boar or a Strangleroot Geist on turn 2, but it can be very reasonable, even if your opponent hasn't done anything on turn 2, to just say, creature, go. Because it could very well be the case that what'll happen is you'll get 4 damage coming back at you out of nowhere in the form of the Burning Tree Emissary and a Lightning Mauler. And unless you can follow up your own attack, I don't know, I would feel like it'd be better to play it safe with playing D, even if I have a haste creature.
Yeah. So David has a good start here. He has the Arbor Elf. Ideally, I think you want to see a turn 2 Gyre Sage here, and then maybe a Pillar of Flame on an Experiment 1 or a Boros Elite. So it looks like we have a turn 1 Boros Elite from John. Does David have a removal spell for it, or a sizable blocker? Strangleroot Geist would be fine. Let's see if he has. So
we do have a Strangleroot Geist as a card David can put down.
So and that's a good blocker.
Can't see anything else in his hand. He's
It looks like there's an Experiment 1 too. I don't think he can cast. Yeah, he can't cast Experiment 1 because he has a Blood Crypt. So he can cast a Strangleroot Geist here if he chooses, but instead he goes for the Experiment 1 first so that he can grow it next turn. Looks like he has a Falcon Wrath Aristocrat too, so that Experiment 1 can get pretty large in the next few turns.
We see a second land for John Milner.
It looks like a mayor is in John's hand as well. So
Boom.
an alternate art mayor and a regular mayor. And the alternate art mayor comes down. So
Boros
Elite can come in if he chooses to.
as a 2/2. That's actually bigger than any of those blockers over there.
I don't think David wants to double block here. So looks like David's going to take 2, drop to 16. Now he can play a Falcon Wrath Aristocrat, grow the Experiment one, or he can cast Stranglegeist to grow it. Let's see what he draws here. Looks like he drew maybe a Flint of Boar.
So
Does he have a 4th mana? I think even if you do have a 4th mana, if it's a Pain land, I think you'd still rather cast a Stranglegeist here. Get that guy into play, grow your Experiment one. You have a decent blocker, and your Experiment one gets even bigger next turn, and then you can play the Aristocrat next turn. Let's see what he does here.
That Boros Elite is going to be a real problem for him next turn.
Yeah, 3 with Battalion, it becomes a 3/3. With the Mayor, it's a 4/4, and we know John has another Mayor in his hand too, so it's going to be very tricky. It looks like he does go for the Stranglegeist and just plays a Blood Crypt, so he's going to play the Aristocrat next turn. And you just see how bad his creatures are compared to John's when John's Battalion gets going and he has the Mayor in play. Obviously, cards like Flint of Boar and Experiment one can't get good at blocking, but right now John just has all the tricks that he needs to get those creatures through. Frontline Medic is another card that allows him to keep attacking. It doesn't look like he has it, but he has another Mayor. So let's see how he plays this turn. He has a Searing Spear too.
Jeez.
So he could choose to Searing Spear the Experiment one, maybe attack with everything. Do you want to lose your Mayor though?
I mean, he could attack with everything and then Searing Spear whatever blocks the Mayor too.
Yeah, maybe just get that Battalion trigger to start. So
everything in.
Looks like he does Battalion triggers. So Boros Elite becomes a 3/3 now, and he still has the Searing Spear. Maybe you're also okay with losing your Mayor right here.
He gets to replace it with another Mayor.
Yeah. Although you might have played the Mayor. Maybe you should have played the Mayor pre-combat. Looks like he's probably going to Searing Spear whatever blocks the Mayor. Yeah, and if this is David's blocks, this is perfect then, because he kills the Experiment one, and then the Stranglegeist won't end up killing the Burning Tree Emissary because the Mayor will still be in play. So it looks like John, because John didn't play the Mayor pre-combat, it looks like he is. Oh,
that works too.
That is infinitely better.
Gore Clan comes on through.
Gore Clan tramples over for 3. And Boros Elite does 4, so 7 damage, is dropping David down to 9, I believe. And the Stranglegeist dies and gets a counter off of the Undying trigger.
And David here has yet to cast any of his removal spells.
And I don't believe he cast a spell this turn, so the Blood Rush does not count.
Yeah, he has not cast a spell.
He's able to flip the Mayor and get a 3/3. Obviously, it doesn't have the pump effect towards the other humans now, but it is a 3/3, and he'll get wolves at the end of his turn. So fair trade. Plus, he also has a Searing Spear in his hand, and we still know he has the other Mayor. So reasonable shape for John right here. David, David just didn't draw any of his removal. It's the only thing that really matters out of his deck in this matchup.
Between Dreadbore and Putrefy main deck, and then sideboarding an Abrupt Decay and Pillar of Flames. I mean, he does have a lot of removal. I could actually have seen him sideboarding out Putrefy because of the speed of it, but
I would still want it.
I would still want it too.
Like it just goes to show you how good Burning Tree Emissary is. Like if John didn't have Burning Tree Emissary, that Boros Elite isn't nearly as threatening.
Now we see a Falcon Wrath Aristocrat, 2 defenders back. And David Raczka still on the ropes. There's a Searing Spear in John Milner's hand. So,
yeah. So let's see how he plays this one. He can play a land. He can play the second Mayor, and he'll still have the Searing Spear. Is it worth killing a blocker here? Play the Mayor.
There's the second Mayor.
You block. You drop him down to 6. Yeah, you might have to Searing Spear before combat.
Comes on in. Who knows? Maybe there's another Rampager in hand, or is it just one card? Oh, he's got a couple.
Yeah, I can't tell what the other thing is. So Caverns on Human. And we know he has at least a Searing Spear in his hand. What are the good blocks here for David? David can block the flipped Mayor of Averback with the Falcon Wrath Aristocrat, and he can block the frontline medic with the Strangergeist, and then sacrifice the Arbor Elf to give his Falcon Wrath Aristocrat indestructibility. He'll end up taking 3 damage, dropping to 6, but he'll at least be able to deal with both of John's attacking creatures, the biggest ones. He'll still have to contend with the other Mayor, but either way. So he decides to go after the Burning Tree Emissary instead, hoping that John doesn't have a follow-up creature so that the battalion gets turned off.
The elf eaten by the Aristocrat in response, Searing Spear. And then and if he wants to keep that Aristocrat around, he's going to have to eat his Stranglerootgeist as well.
And that's unfortunate, but still, he takes 4 from the Boros Elite. He's able to kill the Mayor at least. And John doesn't look like he has a follow-up here. So if David can draw a removal spell for the Mayor of Averback and maybe drop another creature here to give his guy indestructibility. So it looks like he has a Gyre Sage and a Flint of Boar. Flint of Boar comes down, and it can block. Yeah, still a tight spot. He really needed a Pillar of Flame here. Pillar of Flame would have been a huge draw. But it looks like he can cast Gyre Sage or Flint of Boar. I think Flint of Boar probably wants to come down. Nope.
Down comes the Sage.
So he's going to probably go block, give my guy indestructibility here. So he'll be able to at least trade with one of the creatures. Looks like John drew a land, perhaps. Can't really tell. So with David at 5, he's going to be able to block, potentially only take 1 this turn. If John does choose to attack with all 3 of his creatures. Looks like he might just pass and have to flip. Yeah, it doesn't have a good attack here. He didn't draw a Gorkling Rampager or some other pump spell, so he's forced to just pass the turn. And David did draw an Abrupt Decay, it looks like, so pretty huge rip there for him.
He's going to be able to cast a Flinthoof Boar, and if he wants to in that same turn, cast an Abrupt Decay off of the Gyre Sage.
And I like that play. You want to get those guys into play. Get that guy bigger. Maybe you pass. Try to put the you can't let the battalion trigger happen.
I mean, he can do that inside combat.
Yeah,
too.
he can do it inside combat, and then I'm trying to think if there's a way maybe to get. Do you want John to attack? Is it worth it to just wipe his board out? I don't know. No, it looks like he's just going to main phase. Maybe he's afraid of Boros Charm, perhaps, but I don't know. Boros Charm probably kills you no matter what. So, just kills it now, and passes the turn back. David has.
Oh wow, he's thinking about attacking.
Is he attacking?
Whew,
wow, so
very aggressive.
Not afraid of Lightning Mauler, obviously. And looks like John just drew another land here, kind of flooding out a little. He has an Experiment 1, so a little fortunate there. Again, if he had a Lightning Mauler, I guess he just drops down to 1. So maybe he was fine with that.
John Milner.
Milner just draws another land.
He doesn't. That gives him a Thundermaw Hellkite, I believe.
Yeah, he can cast Thundermaw now. If he was willing to attack last turn, you'd imagine he's willing to attack again this turn. Let's see if he does, though. Play a land, cast a Thundermaw, attack with your Aristocrat, drop John down to 10. Threaten lethal next turn. Yeah, I think you probably cast the Thundermaw and just attack with it. You're threatening lethal next turn. Maybe you're afraid of, although you expose yourself to Lightning Mauler for sure now. You have 2 creatures back. No, I think it's fine. I think Thundermaw, attack with Thundermaw is fine.
David with Jund Aggro here on the right, trying to stabilize against John Milner. John Milner with only a land in hand. He does have 3 creatures out, and David Raczka is just right here on the edge of death, trying to pull it out. There's the Thundermaw. Gyre Sage gets a little bit bigger.
I think if you attack last turn, I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to attack this turn, things didn't really change. Yeah, so if you attack with Thunder Maul, you're threatening lethal next turn. So you drop him to 9. Lightning Maulers, a scary card. Gorkland Rampager is probably the best card John could have. Draw right here. Let's see what he gets.
That's a Cavern of Souls. I believe that's land.
So looks like David's going to be able to pull this game out despite a really aggressive start from John.
Here comes the team.
So, and again, we saw earlier today where maybe John, but just by drawing 2 lands, he could have just conceded right here, but he's still forcing David to make the correct play. So all David has to do is just block 2 creatures and make sure give his guy indestructibility.
And look, John right there.
Did he draw the Rampager and we just is he? So he's trying to make so he's trying to make David. Yeah, I don't know. I like to play on John's part, but David really doesn't have to. David could still sacrifice his guy to give his guy indestructibility, and it doesn't matter. If you have a Rampager, I'm dead no matter what. So I think it's fine just to sack it. Make sure you, sack your guy, give him indestructibility, and kill him next turn. But you see, this is the thing. All of a sudden, David's imagination is getting the best of him now, and he's trying to think about all the possibilities simply because John attacked, and he started moving his mana around a little bit.
And the elf Gyre Sage goes away, eaten.
And
down to 4.
He goes down to 4 life, and John passes. Does he have anything in his hand? Yep, he's just
there you go. There you go.
I like that play by John.
That was very good. That was very good. And the other thing of it too is that John Milner, by making that play, he opens up that opportunity. But even besides that, some people might make the right play, like David made the right play there, but just be a little bit worn out by that interaction and maybe be a little bit more tired for the rest. It's these little small things. It's 10 rounds of Magic have already passed.
If John just said pass and David said okay, suddenly his aristocrat's dead. It's like, why not take that chance?
Yeah.
You give yourself another turn now because both your creatures die and you only have 8 power on the board. So, John maybe could have pulled that out if David got a little too nervous and maybe hesitated or just said okay and passed priority back. But again, it shows you, even though you never concede, no matter how bad things look, put the pressure on your opponent, make him make the right play.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things about it is you're not going to, David made the right play, but John didn't lose anything by asking him to make it.
Yeah, John didn't lose. No reason to concede there. Make him think about it. And maybe now it'll affect his decision making in the third game.
Mm-hmm. One of the moments where I remember very clearly Patrick Chapin paying a compliment to someone. They lost the match, and Patrick's compliment was, wow, you got yourself an extra turn by that play. And all that it was just making the other player have to think, and in so thinking, they decided to be a little bit cautious. They didn't do what David did here, where David basically was like, well, show me something. I'm just going to play for the win. And I think that's the kind of thing that you've been talking about several times today, is making the other person go, gosh, he could have X, Y, Z, A, B, C. I better do this then and play around it.
Yeah, and I know it looked irrelevant there because, David ended up sacking a creature and nothing ended up happening for John, but it's not irrelevant. Those kind of things matter. And maybe it didn't matter now, but during the course of a tournament, if you keep making those types of plays and keep putting the onus on your opponent, eventually it could matter to the point where you end up winning a game simply because you forced your opponent to make a couple of tough decisions.
We are going to game 3 here in this aggro v aggro, Naya Humans, or Naya Blitz if you prefer, versus Jund aggro. And we saw there Abrupt Decay to good effect used by David, and this was a really tight game.
Yeah, and we said this before the match started. It's really kind of a 50-50 match. It can go either way. I think there's a little more pressure on David's side simply because, it's so important for him to draw his removal spells. It's really important because he doesn't do a good job of blocking very often. And, we saw that game, a timely Abrupt Decay. If that was a creature, it's not good enough. So I think that this is going to be an interesting game to see whether or not the sideboard cards show up for David in abundance. And I don't know if one Abrupt Decay is going to be enough.
One
this
of
time.
one of the things, if we look at the sideboards, remember, both of these players have access to each other's deck lists, and in fact, all of the players have access to each other's deck lists. The thing about the sideboard of John Milner, if you look at those cards, Fiend Hunter, Frontline Medic, Boros Charm, Gruul Charm, even Skullcrack, not Purify the Grave so much, there are reasons. I'm not saying any of them are necessarily excellent reasons, but there are reasons for any of those cards. And David, with that last turn, David was suddenly having to go through his memory and think, what if he has this? What if he has this? You know, what if he has that? And there's a lot more play in John Milner's sideboard to be able to play to David Raczka's play style and deck than David Raczka's. David doesn't have as many choices as John when it comes to how he sideboards.
Yeah, like the good thing for John, because it's top 8 and David has full access to John's deck, John doesn't have to board in all 15 cards for them to affect David's decision making. You know, David has to keep thinking, I don't know what John's boarding in, but he could have Skullcrack, he could have Boros Charm, he could have Gruul Charm here to falter next turn.
Yeah.
You know, what do I need to play against? I don't know. For John, you know, he doesn't need to board in those cards. Maybe he just wants to bring in Fiend Hunter and Frontline Medic and let the rest of his deck do what it does. But David is under a lot of pressure because does he have that instant speed removal spell? Does he have a burn spell? Does he have a Gruul Charm? It's all these cards that kind of force David to think a lot about what he has to do.
And we have just gotten in a couple of match results. Alex Gonzalez beats Travis Bryant 2-0. That means that Junk Reanimator in the other bracket has moved forward. And then in the other matchup, Ben Weinberg defeats Robbie Cordell, meaning that the Rock has finally fallen to Ben Weinberg with Naya Blitz.
And that is surprising given how badly Robbie beat Ben Weinberg in the Swiss early on. I was not expecting that, particularly with Robbie being on the play. I'd be interested to see what actually happened in that match. Did Robbie stumble on his mana, or did Ben just have a really explosive draw? I don't know, but I would definitely expect that Robbie would have won that match given how the Swiss games played out.
The other match still underway, Allenwood versus Derek Roper. We're waiting to hear results for that, but this just in, Ben Weinberg defeats Robbie Cordell, and Alex Gonzalez defeats Travis Bryant.
So Weinberg continues to assert his dominance with the Naya human deck. So it looks like both players in this match are deciding whether or not they want to keep their hands. Milner is on the play this game, so he has to choose first. Does he have an aggressive an aggressive enough start to keep? This could be one of those hands where maybe he doesn't have a 1-drop, but he has a Burning Tree Emissary. Maybe he does have a 1-drop, but he can't cast it. Yeah, it looks like he has a lot of white cards, but 2 Stomping Grounds perhaps, and a Clifftop Retreat. So he can't. Maybe he can't cast his champion. Is this? Oh, so he does keep it.
He doesn't look happy about it though.
I think it's one of those awkward draws where maybe he can't cast his 1-drops because he has a Clifftop Retreat and Stomping Ground, and the champion that perishes the 1-drop of choice. We'll see.
David Raczka does something kind of classic that I really appreciate when players do this. He did not look at his hand while John Milner was deciding the sideboarding, not wanting to give away anything inadvertently.
Yeah, I hate that. I think people do that too often, thinking that you're going to get a read. But, like, so rarely. How often do you really get a read? Like, how often do you do that?
I like that. I mean,
it just wastes time. I know people do that all the time, and I'm like, I don't even pay attention to what you're doing. I'm thinking about what I want to keep. I really wonder how often people think that matters, but...
Turn 2, Thalia faces off against Experiment 1. And, you know, one of the things here, you're a Pro Tour champion. I am not anywhere near that. So it could be that your path to this is better than mine, but I know I personally like to do that. Because I think, I just fear I'll give something away.
Oh, yeah, no, listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I do it too sometimes. Sometimes I don't just because I don't want to waste time, and I don't think it matters. But again, it is one of those mental things that could matter, particularly against like a player like Neil Reeves, who used to be really good, or Bob Maher. I would not want to give anything away, so I would probably keep my hand down. But the problem is, when I am looking at my hand, they're done making their decision, so they're going to be looking at me the whole time. So they're still going to be getting a read on you. So I don't totally buy the whole, you know, don't look at your hand until your opponent makes their decision, because once you're looking at their hand, they've made the decision, so they can put all their focus on you. So if I'm keeping a weak hand, then suddenly they'll know it for sure.
We have besides our video coverage that you are watching right now, make sure that you check out our text coverage, and you can find out, for example, all of the details of that Cordell-Weinberg matchup. And Ruben Bressler has been an invaluable asset for us here, giving us a ton of coverage besides what you're watching right now.
Hold on,
so make
we're
sure
going to
you
get
check
an
it out.
explosion, a human explosion alert.
Uh-oh, what's going to happen?
I think we're going to see a champion of the parish, Burning Tree Emissary, and a mayor, which means suddenly John Milner will have assembled an army. Let's see, he's thinking about it.
Cavern of Souls with human on it.
I cannot imagine him not wanting to cast champion of the parish, then following it up with a Burning Tree Emissary, and then following it up with the mayor. But maybe he just wants to make sure he does it in the right sequence. So he's
How many cards? What you got over there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many. Some number. I believe 4, but I'm not 100% on that. Nope, 5? 5 cards.
I feel like this is almost a slow roll. You are clearly emptying your hand. You are clearly creating a human army right now. Let's not joke around.
Champion of the parish. Burning Tree Emissary. Gets him a little bigger. Just a little bigger. It can't be that much bigger, though, can it?
It's in the mayor. There we go. Oh, Flint of Boar. Oh, that's not nearly as exciting.
You know, the Flinttooth Boar and the Mayor of Adbrook look so similar with their art.
So Thalia comes down. Thalia's going to swing. Unfortunately, because there's no mayor, it's only a 2-1. But it is a first striker. So there's not really a good block for David. David could choose to double block here if he wants.
And David takes his boom cards back up to his hand while he figures out what he's going to do here on this.
Yeah, I'm not sure what. Yeah, I'm not sure what's in his hand, but I like double blocking here. You trade 1 for 1, and either creature is probably decent for you. Your experiment one's probably gonna get bigger next turn, and same thing with Gyro Sage. So I like that double block.
I like David's position right now. I mean,
I mean, you only like it because you know John has 2 lands in his hand.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm speaking from the position up above where I get to know a lot of what's going on. Without David's. If I was in David's shoes, I might not. Is that the Dryad?
It looks like he did board in the Dryad Militant. And, yeah, I don't think his position's bad, but I don't think... I'm not quite sure whether or not he has this game in the bag just yet.
The Stomping Ground in play makes that boar a big 3/3. Everybody comes in. I expect we're going to see some of the 2-power creatures trading here. And we have the other matchup. Roper defeats Wood. That means that we're going to have another Junk Reanimator deck in the top 8, or top 4.
So let's see here. What is going to get blocked? So it looks like Champion of Parish and Burning Tree Emissary might both get blocked here. Does John have a Gorkland Rampager to save at least one of his creatures? No.
Searing Spear after blocks are declared.
So he wants that champion to live. Ends up dealing 3, drops David to 13. And John still only has 2 lands in his hand. So not the worst shape for David, but can't really make out what David has left.
David's life total is so huge.
Is that a Gruul War Chant in his hand? It looks
Falcon
like a Falcon
Wrath
Aristocrat. Not the best blocker right now, but at least it will trade with anything.
Oh, another land for John Milner. In they come. Take 2. Let's both lose our best creature. Your best is better than my best, though.
So, interesting whether or not... not sure what John really wants to draw right here. Rampager would be a reasonable draw, but he's going to have a couple of runners right here. Frontline Medic into Lightning Mauler wouldn't be a bad couple of draws. I don't know if David has any removal in his hand, but Frontline Medic is something that he's really going to want next turn.
Mayor? Maybe Mayor is what he would look
Mayor's not bad. But
he's in bad shape.
He's not in great shape right now. I can't see exactly what David had in his hand. I want to say that gold card's Gruul War Chant, but I can't imagine why he won't want to bring that in this matchup.
I hope it's not that, man. We'll see. We'll see. 4 mana.
Are we going to get a Falcon Wrath Aristocrat here? And yes.
Boom! Let's race.
Boom goes the Dynamite. Are we going to get a Lightning Mauler of John to make this thing interesting? Lightning Mauler, and it is Lightning Mauler.
Is it?
It looks like it.
Oh,
So
it is.
It is going to soul bond. It's going to grow the champion. Is he going to soul bond it
Best
as well?
friends forever, at least for now. Take 5.
So it drops David to 6. So suddenly things got a lot more interesting. Could we get a Gorklan Rampager to help finish things off? David has a Dreadbore here. This is kind of awkward because he has to go after the champion of the parish here, but Lightning Mauler sticks around, threatening to give haste to anything that John draws.
Flint Hoof Boar.
Are we going to attack with the boar too? Nope. So the boar is back to block.
David at 6 life. John Milner, can't tell if it's 1 or 2 cards from before. I think he has 2 cards in his hand. Oh, just the one?
A Rampager would be great here. I would, because then you could just cast it and soul bond and attack. And it looks like a Burning Tree Emissary. So not an ideal draw.
Not too exciting. I mean, I don't think he's even going to make friends with that guy.
You can cast it. I don't know if you want to soul bond
Yeah.
it. You can cast it. If you soul bond and you attack with both, you lose one of your guys. You drop David to 4. You're not really in range for anything there. You don't have any. You don't unless you board it in your Boros Charms. I don't really see the point of that.
Yeah, I think he just drops it and doesn't make friends.
I'm surprised he didn't even cast it. You can still cast it.
Yeah.
Because then you can soul bond whatever else you draw with your Lightning Mauler.
David Raczka.
Looks like that is. I can't imagine that's War Chant. It does look like it, but let's see. Does he have anything else in his hand? Is it just a War Chant? It looks like. It is.
It is.
Gruul War Chant comes down. So suddenly he has 9 power in play.
John Milner reads it. I don't blame him.
So there is 9 power in play. And it can't be blocked. Is he going to swing over and threaten lethal next turn? This will give John a lot of outs. He has a burning. Oh no!
Just with the one.
Just with the one.
I mean, that's still knocks John Milner to 7.
Yeah, and he probably can threaten lethal because the other ability of War Chant is they can't be blocked by him except by 2 creatures. So.
Is that another land? Did he just draw another land?
Oh, it's a Fiend Hunter. Great draw.
That's a good one.
Great draw. He can Fiend Hunter the boar, and then play the Burning Tree Emissary, soul bond it, attack David down to 2. The Aristocrat won't be lethal, I don't believe.
And now he knows also that there are no cards that David Raczka can cast on this moment, just because of the list. There exist no cards in David's hand that will influence what's happening.
So let's see if John does in fact do that. And this is the kind of unfortunate thing about not casting the Burning Tree Emissary last turn, is that if he cast it last turn, he could have soul bonded the Fiend Hunter and attacked for 5 instead of just 4. But maybe that means that David takes a different line last turn. I'm not sure. Either way, this is going to be. Let's see if he goes after the Fiend Hunter, if he goes after the Falcon Raptor Aristocrat, or goes after the boar and just clears the way. I think you want to go after the boar, especially if the Aristocrat's not lethal. But no, he does.
He goes after the Aristocrat.
Maybe he's afraid of Pillar of Flame. Yeah, I don't know about that play. Do you really think that he? I don't know. I think you really want to. If
I like
you,
it the other way.
If you drop David to 2, you give yourself so many more outs.
David here, looking for an answer. I mean, David's still on the ropes, but
I don't know. I'm not sure who's on the ropes right now, to be honest with you. It's, one timely removal spell from David, and suddenly everything's different. And he still has that Gruul War Chant, which I don't think is great in this matchup, but right now it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But again, if he has the, if the Aristocrats in play, both creatures would have had to just stay back to block. And, oh my God. Malcontents.
And are there no friends?
I think
is
soul
the
bond.
Lightning Mauler friendless?
I think it is. I don't think the Lightning Mauler is soul bonded with anything. Why would he soul bond if he didn't plan to attack last
Oh
turn?
man.
The Malcontents are threatening to do 4 points of damage to David if they resolve, and David doesn't have an Abrupt Decay. So the Mauler is unpaired.
Boy. Take 4.
I think
David.
I think you go for it. If he didn't have a removal spell, I think you go for it here. You attack with everything. What's the worst that he has? He has Abrupt Decay for your Fiend Hunter, and you lose. But if he has the Abrupt Decay, you're pretty much dead.
Best friends forever.
Yeah, I think you go for it here. He blocks the Burning Tree Emissary and the Malcontents, and he still takes 3. Yeah, you basically put him on having Abrupt Decay or no. Abrupt Decay or Putrefy are the 2 cards you can have.
Best friends forever. Now, with the other line of play that you had drawn out earlier, David being at already 2 life, this would be a lethal Kessig Malcontents, period.
Yeah, so let's see. Is John going to give David another turn to draw a removal spell? John has to read David right now. He has to read him and not having a removal spell.
Maybe we have a question going on. Looks like it. David here conversing with, it looks like the head judge just to the right of him.
Maybe he's trying to think if it was too late to pair. Maybe John. I think they're determining whether or not John's able to pair the Lightning Mauler with the Kessig Malcontents.
Yeah, I mean.
So yeah, did he miss the Soulbond trigger?
I mean, because if he resolved the Kessig Malcontents without having the other ability on the stack already, it is too late.
I don't know. I think the judge is going to let him bond it. Yeah, I don't think you can get around that. I think you have to let him bond there.
Let's see what happens.
Yep.
The bonding
Everything
is there,
comes in.
and let's see if David has it.
Abrupt Decay or no, that's all you got. Yep.
That's it.
Wow.
Wow.
Timely Malcontents from John there to pull him ahead and win that game.
So that is actually the entirety of the top 8.
That was a fast top 8.
Is done. And wow, that's a good one. 2-1